Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm making a really cool video today about a very interesting topic. I mean, it's always an interesting topic, but today is it's a very complicated topic, what I'm speaking about today. I will be speaking about the law of one, raw material. So this is a very complicated and long read, I guess you could say. You can find it online like as a PDF form, and you can definitely read it for free online. It's called The Law of One Raw, R-A, Material. So basically I'll explain really quick what it is, and I have read it a few times, okay, in portions and in sections, because like I said, it's lengthy and also it's complicated. It's extremely complicated. If you take a look at this, this piece, how would I say it? I guess you can call it a book. I'm gonna call it a book because it is in parts, like chapters almost, and it's very long. But basically, it's an interview, you can call it, and it is a channeling. It took place between 1962 and 1981. So I have a lot of notes here just to refer to. This is why I'm looking down from time to time. So it was done in 26 sessions between the years of 1962 and 1981. Don Elkins is the one who wrote it, and it was a team basically. And there was a woman who was the one who was the how would you call it? I guess you could say the vehicle or the channeler. Okay, the channeler. She was the one who actually was. And this was all instructed by the entity, the higher dimensional entity that they were channeling. So even the position that she had to lie in, she had to be of a certain energy level. They gave very specific instructions as to where to put certain objects around her, like crystals and candles and things like that, so that she was in the perfect position in order to receive a clear channel from their side. So basically, and this was all recorded, every single word, so it was a question and answer sort of thing, so it was kind of interview style. And the content, the information that was brought forth from, we're going to call it a higher dimensional being, but truthfully speaking, from what I've read, it's not a being so much as it is a unity consciousness. So it's actually multiple beings, but they all, because of the level that they're at, I do believe they're sixth dimensional. I'm not entirely sure, but they're definitely much higher dimensional than we are. And they've evolved to a point where they no longer speak using names. They don't have names for, any one of the different entities that exist there. And they sort of refer to themselves all as raw, just raw. They communicate telepathically, so when they're communicating, it's kind of like all of them are being represented in this. And they use a lot of terms, which I just want to talk about before I even get started, that are kind of very technical. And basically, just so that you don't get confused as I'm speaking. So one of the words they use a lot is distortion. Distortion, they'll say distortions cause illusions of separation, something like that. And what they mean by distortion is, the best way I can explain it or describe it is, that filter that you develop as you go through life and through the programming and all the, you can call it programming and brainwashing, really, that you receive, just from everyone and everywhere in life. So over time, you develop these filters that you use to sort of, that becomes your perspective, okay, on how you see life. So if you notice, some people have just this great attitude. They just are so positive. They just see everything in every situation in such a positive way. There's a reason why they're like that. So they have definitely developed a way to see life through a specific lens. And there's all kinds of lenses for every single person. So this is what they refer to as a distortion, okay? The other one is a social memory complex. They're going to use this term a lot, social memory complex. And what that is basically is the soul, okay? This is sort of what they're referring to, the individual unique soul, which is a social memory complex, okay? So at some point when I speak, the interviewer asks Ra, how many of them are there in their community, I guess you could say, or planet, and then they actually give the number, and they say we are, X number social memory complexes. So that's what they're referring to, is different, like saying for us, we're, the population of humans. That's kind of what they're referring to. So each soul, each unique person, right? Because we all have our unique energy signature, which is our soul basically, and it does retain memory, right? From past lives, from any experience really that we've had. So according to them, this is what they refer to as the social memory complex. Let me see, any other terms that I need to, first density, second density, third density. They're going to use these terms a lot. So the first density refers to the elements. And I have talked about this in a couple of my in one of my previous videos that I uploaded a while back. But the first density are the elements, fire, air, earth, water. That's the first density. Second density is plant and animal life. Third density is basically, technically it's where we are now. So in there, I'm just going to tell you what they say is, once a second density entity has learned all the lessons of consciousness of self, and in brackets, by the way, it's they say it could take many cycles. Okay, I'm just kind of reiterating, not word for word, but this is what they said. The number of cycles cannot be guaranteed, is what they said, more or less. So it could take many cycles. This is referring to the reincarnation cycles. And then they can move on to third density. This is actually a prerequisite. So there are laws, okay? This is called the law of one. There's the law of love. There's all kinds of laws, that we as souls, as social memory complexes, in their terms, must go through. No soul can skip this step in their evolution. They must go through it. And however many cycles it takes for them to learn those lessons until they become conscious of self, okay? Conscious of self, and therefore how the self is connected to the rest. So service to others, and service to others then automatically is also service to self. It's the perfect harmony, and it's the perfect way for a soul, and the fastest way for a soul to evolve and move up that ladder, okay? So I just want to start this off. Let me just see here 1 second. I did mention it was a 26 session, okay, interview, you can say, process done during this time. And yes, I want to read you something, so I'm just going to check this really quick here. So the interviewer asks Ra, let's see here. Well, rather than that, let me just tell you what Ra says. This is the important part that I noted down, okay? This is something that Ra says towards the beginning of this interview. In an infinite creator, there is only unity. You have seen simple examples of unity. You have seen the prism, which shows all colors stemming from the sunlight. This is a simplistic example of unity. In truth, there is no right or wrong. There is no polarity, for all will be, as you would say, reconciled at some point in your dance through the mind-body-spirit complex, which you amuse yourself by distorting in various ways at this time. Okay? So I know that was a lot in one, but basically, okay, in a nutshell, what Ra is saying is, and the reason I actually wanted to share this information too, is to understand that there's no judgment. There's no judgment. There should be no judgment here, even though there still is. But when you leave the earth plane, understand that there is never judgment in that sense. There is no right or wrong. Okay, that's not a concept that they even use or can understand. If you can imagine, like they said, we're all these rays of light coming out of the main source, the prism of light, which is infinite creator, as they refer to, God. It's not a being, of course. It's not like an alien or, you know, you know what I mean. It's not like a physical being. It's a consciousness. This is what it all is. This is what it all boils down to, is the point of what I'm going to talk about now, that Ra talks about, okay? So like I said, I have a lot of notes. I can't memorize all this because a lot of it I do need to read from what I wrote down in my notes that I sort of wrote in my own words from the notes and as I was reading through the material itself. So forgive me for not memorizing this stuff and looking directly at the camera, but I don't want to say things wrong or anything like that, so I'm just going to refer to my notes. One sec. Okay. So, you know, like I said, because the material is so complicated and they use such technical, terms that we're not really used to, it does take a few reads, like I said. So what I did is based on the most important message or information that I grasped from the beginning sections of this material, I sort of summed up into my own words for you guys so that you can understand. You know what I mean? I don't want to like just quote what Ra says and then you're like, what? Like, what does that mean? So I'm just trying to give you an idea here. This is what the video is. It's the law of one explained more simply. And like I said, I will have to do this in parts, probably just 2 parts. So I'm going to call this one part 1 because there's a lot of information and I cannot cover it all in one go. So here we go. Like I said, there's no right or wrong. Polarity does not exist. It exists here on Earth, because we live in this dualistic, polarity realm, basically, this 3D realm. And this is how we learn lessons. This is a free will planet as well. And they talk about this a little later on about logos. So basically each galaxy gets its own logos. And logos is like a universal set of laws, basically like a free will set of laws, something like that. And I'll explain that a bit later. So Earth and all the planets within this galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, and each galaxy has its own, but for us it would be there's a specific set of laws and rules that we all follow. There is an infinite creator, absolutely. So there is, anyone who says there's no God, nothing exists, it's just kind of all black when you die, or there's no afterlife in that sense, you're wrong. There really is. The illusion is that we die here, that this is the true life, and that when we die, that's it. That's the illusion. The minute you realize that's not how it is, that is the minute you can wake up, you guys. This is part of the reason why I'm sharing this information. This is information, understand this. This is information channeled from a higher dimensional being, not just one being, a council of beings. Because as I give the information, you'll realize it's a council, basically. They call themselves the Confederation. Confederation of planets in the service of the infinite creator. This is what they refer to themselves as a part of. So they are only one community or one council amongst a shitload of others, basically, which I love. I love to hear that. So those starseeds out there who you're not sure, you feel like you're on a mission for something, you are probably a part of these councils. Just like there's the Galactic Federation of Light, there's the Council of Melchizedek, there is Arcturian Council, right? Syrian Council, Pleiadian Council. Those are the main ones, but there's so many more as well. And we are from those places, right? We come on these missions. So they say you are unity, infinity, light, infinity. Remember this. That means you never actually die. When you die here on Earth, that's just an aspect of yourself that, your actual essence of you, who you are, is not this. We were taught wrong. We were taught this is our body and this is, we are, no, you are literally a consciousness of your own. And you can place yourself in any vehicle at any time. At any time. You can incarnate at any time. Right now, a part of you, remember, right? A part of you is here in one body, while other parts of you could be in other bodies simultaneously. And when this one the physical body decays and passes, well, the consciousness continues on. It decides what it wants to do. And it has full memory of everything that it's ever done. Okay? Time doesn't exist. Time is an illusion. Okay? Here on earth, there is no such, we're taught about time, but time is not real. There's no past, present, future. Think about it this way. This is the best analogy I can give. You take a movie, right? You put a DVD in, and you have the options of rewind, fast forward, and play. That's sort of how it works. It's all on one space, literally. So you have this disc, and this can represent, let's say the universe, the disc, the DVD. And you have all these different points in that space, and it's quantum, right? So you have these other dimensions going on and all these kinds of other spaces. It's all quantum, so it's like different pockets within the pockets within, that's how it works. But you have these, so you can go to that moment, just like you can rewind on the DVD and go to that specific spot that you want to. Well, you can as well. With the right technology, the right knowledge, you can actually time travel and go back to that moment when you were 5 years old and something traumatic happened or something amazing happened, whatever you want to see, right? The dinosaurs, different things, anywhere. Same thing with the future. The future is not really like, you know what I mean? It's already, all those possibilities have already happened in that sense, in another place. It's just a now moment constantly, is the best way I can put it. It's a now moment all the time. What they say is, those vibrating with law of light seek the law of one. So those who are resonating with this message, what I'm talking about, who have already read the law of one, who are interested, who are intrigued by what I'm saying and might go on to actually start reading it, it means that you are already vibrating with the law of light. You've already embodied that, the law of light, which is why you shine so bright as a light worker. Okay? So I'm not going to talk about the law of light because I haven't come across that information yet. It's mentioned only here and there, but not in detail. There's different laws. But that's interesting. So, and then it says, those vibrating with the law of one seek the law of foreverness. Interesting. So right now we are seeking the law of one, right? We understand it, but we are trying to embody it as a community, as a whole, on Earth. So once we have reached that point of really embodying, like they said, vibrating. When they say vibrating, it means you have to be of that vibration, literally. And that means embodying it in your everyday being and way. So once you're vibrating at the law of one, which means you have understood fully consciousness of self, then you will start to seek the law of foreverness. Okay. They also say distortions cause illusions of separation. Distortions, remember what I said earlier, cause illusions of separation. So that happens on the 3D here on Earth. There's a reason for that. It's to help us to learn lessons. But these distortions, they cause illusions of separation. Think about the constant think about all the illusions of separation that we have right now at this present moment in time on Earth. Okay? Racial separation in all kinds of ways all over the globe. Gender separation, family separation. It's just everything is, borders, everything is made, religions, education, it's all set up to divide us and thus make us weak and keep us from actually understanding, like fully understanding and coming to that consciousness of yourself, of self. You have to wake up for that. When you fully are conscious of self, you wake up. You see past the 3D illusion. Okay, you understand it doesn't matter how asleep the person is. You don't hate on them. You understand. You understand that you were once at that point, and they are on their journey, and you cannot force somebody either. Everyone has to wake up on their own time. It's not about judgment. It's not about right or wrong. It's really not. They say to reach an undistorted understanding of the law of one, it's not necessary to heal or show any manifestation, but only to exercise discipline of understanding. So to reach an undistorted understanding, remember how many distortions we have, right? The candle just went out. I guess it's done. I get creeped out by those things sometimes. Okay, so to reach an undistorted understanding of the law of one, so like a full understanding with no distortions, like from their higher perspective basically, it's not necessary to heal or show any manifestation. Okay, so you don't have to prove anything, you don't have to take sides or anything like that, but only to exercise discipline of understanding. It's all about your consciousness and being totally neutral. Totally neutral. It's really hard to do, actually, but this is what they're saying. You have to exercise discipline of understanding. Exercise discernment. But exercise how to be neutral, right? In things, not to go crazy and say, oh my God, like getting caught up in things like BLM, for example. You know, there's so much going on with that, like hidden agendas and things like that, to distract you and to cause further division for those who are really like pro BLM, just as an example. There's so many other things too, but just as an example, you know, that's a distortion in and of itself. Okay, just that. Like, try to be neutral, because you're being, you know, a lot of people may be fighting for the right, you know, with a good intention in that sense, but that's not what it's being used for, really. So you're not helping the cause in that sense. So try to exercise, as they say, discipline of understanding. So this is some interesting history information here that Ra revealed in the interview. So Ra represents members, like I said, of a confederation who came to Earth 11,000 years ago and made contact with two cultures on Earth at that time who were close, in touch with Source, with that infinite creator energy. The guardians at that, wrong. Here we go. These people attempted to aid the Earth cultures at that time in technical ways through the use of crystals, and they say this is actually how the pyramids were created. They then found out that technology was only being used for power. So Ra is saying that Ra found out, right? The members, I guess, who were on Earth physically at that time, found out that the technology that they were presenting to the Earth cultures at that time, the Earth people were only using that for power. So they actually withdrew and left, because they realized that this was not what they thought the Earth cultures and Earth people would do with the technology they presented at that time. It must have been very advanced, like crystal technology. And they believed that it was going to be used for good. But they saw that they had tendencies to not use it for good and more for power. And so they left. However, so keep in mind that within the Ra, there was like different groups. So at that time, there was, like I said, they left, but there was a group who didn't leave. They were kind of more, I don't want to use the word stubborn, but they just didn't want to leave. Like, they wanted to stay there and continue to help and really try, like with the Earth people. And they stayed in the South American region. That's actually where that group remained. They did say, however, even from the ones who physically left, none of the Confederation actually left our vibration, due to the responsibility for the changes in consciousness that they had first caused. And they're referring to coming and introducing this consciousness of the higher advanced crystal technology, definitely ideologies they must have brought, like this information right now, the law of one information that I'm telling you about. This is the information they were trying to bring forth back then. To these two earth cultures. So there were more than two earth cultures, of course, at that time, but they chose two, and that was Egypt, by the way, in ancient, Egypt, as well as that South American region. Let's see here. Right, so they are claiming that they have some sort of responsibility to us because they caused a change in vibration. And because of the laws of free will, the minute you interfere in some way, it's like a karmic debt, like you have to repay it. You can't just leave and say, I'm done. You've caused a ripple, now you have to fix it in that sense. So this is what they're referring to, okay? They attempted to contact the leaders at that time, the rulers at that time, and we're referring now to Egypt. We're going to go to Egypt now, as that's where they landed. So they originally landed in that area and finally were able to find Pharaoh Ammon, Ammon. So they actually tried with different ones, but none of them were really of that vibration, and they chose this Pharaoh Ammon, who was able to understand Ra's communications. Somehow, so they refer to him as sort of an inexperienced soul in that sense, like he was a newer soul, but he was still very open for that reason, I guess. And he was able to sort of hold that vibration of the information of the Law of One. So they did use him actually to, and not in a bad way use him, with consent, of course, in that sense, but they were able to get that information out through him. Just like we all are, just like I am right now. It's in that same sense, right? I'm not being forced. I feel pulled. I resonate with the information that I'm reading to you. And now that I sort of understand it a bit better, I feel the need to share it with you. And that's what sort of was going on at that time too. Let's see. The first, one more thing. I didn't write this down, but I remember when I was reading that they did mention that during that time with the Pharaoh Ammon, even though he really tried, even to the religious leaders and things like that, he tried to get this information out. Nobody was really interested, so it really didn't resonate with anyone at that time as hard as he did try to get it out. So it wasn't really a success, okay? They say, this is interesting, the first humans were brought to Earth from Mars, okay? The first humans who came to Earth were from Mars. The reason being that Mars became inhospitable to the third density beings that were there at that time. The Guardians at that time also manipulated, meaning made genetical adjustments to our DNA so that the Mars race could be transferred here via incarnation once their physical bodies on Mars died. There was a large number of beings where there was just a catastrophe on their planet. Now, I don't know the details. I don't want to say act like I know what happened on Mars. I don't. I just know that the planet did not, or I should say, became completely unlivable, inhospitable, okay? They couldn't live on it anymore, and the beings were going to die, okay? So some kind of contract, you could say, was made for Earth to house those souls then, so that they could all eventually be transferred over to Earth. Now, what happened is, because we're going to call them the Martians because they came from Mars, because their you could say their lifespan, right, was sort of being infringed upon. It was being affected by this. What happened was a quarantine. After this happened, after these beings from Mars incarnated onto Earth, a quarantine was put around Earth. Because on their end, it was felt that the free will of the Martians had been sort of shortened, if that makes sense. That's the best way I could put it from what they described, okay? Basically that's what happened. Now, these beings over time had tendencies that resulted in damaging the atmospheric environment, and at that time they were attempting to learn the law of love, the law of love, another law that they talk about, the law of love. Now, this was about 75,000 years ago that we're talking about right now. So not much has changed. Maybe we are those beings here to fix the things that we did. You know, maybe we really are. Maybe maybe not me. I don't resonate with Mars too much, I'll be honest. But many people do. I mean, there's that case of the Russian kid, right? It was big. It's all over YouTube. But he has crazy memories of his life on Earth before he came. Of his life on Mars before he came to Earth. And he even talks about what his job was on Mars. Like, he remembers being some kind of pilot of some kind, I think, of some pilot of an aircraft or spacecraft, I should say. And he talks about the energy source that it used, even crazy information and details. So and he says specifically he came from Mars, and that something happened on Mars where the beings couldn't live on it anymore. So that definitely coincides with this information. Let's see. One second, sorry. Okay, so they say, this is really interesting too. They say entities from Maldek. Now, Maldek is another planet that did explode, you could say. It blew up, and that's what the asteroid belt is now. So Maldek, entities from Maldek are currently using second density forms here on Earth, and they specifically refer to Bigfoot. They say this is what or the entity that you refer to as Bigfoot. They say this. Because Maldek, like I said, it blew up and it's now the asteroid belt. So the beings from Maldek are kind of stuck in this cycle, as they refer to, and I think that they're referring to sort of the reptilian beings that we think of now here, the fourth density reptilian beings that are not so nice, okay? I think that they are referring to them. But a lot of them actually incarnated as this Bigfoot creature, okay, that a lot of people have seen or heard about. They talk about third density, one of the necessities or requirements. They say for third density, there is one necessity. Self-awareness or self-consciousness. In order to be capable of such, one must be capable of abstract thought. And they say this is a combination of rational and intuitive thinking. And this is pretty important, guys, right now, because I feel like this is sort of where we're at. A lot of people are getting stuck or waking up, and this is where they're having issues, is combining, being able to use both rational and intuitive. So many people have been blocked with their intuition. So many people, men and women, because we both have the ability to be super intuitive. But a lot of people have cut that off, that intuition, that intuitive side of them, because of their chakras, just because of unhealed traumas, real intense mind control and brainwashing, things like that. They're just kind of not able to wake up. They're just in a really low vibrational surrounding constantly with negative people, and some people it's just too much. Like, some people just can't wake up. And I understand that. That's why it's important not to judge, you know. Everyone has a different situation, and for some it's just too much. Like, they really can't. But that's the combination that they're talking about in order to sort of be in third density, and then from there go forth and go on. Is the capability of abstract thought, which is a combination of rational and intuitive thinking. They talked about logos. They said because of free will, each galaxy developed its own logos. And this logos has complete free will in determining the path of intelligent energy, which promotes the lessons of each of the densities given the conditions of the planetary spheres and sun bodies. Interesting. One thing, they refer to names, because like I said, they don't use names where they are. So they do refer to names as vibratory sound complexes, by the way, because sometimes they make references to certain like public figures, just to give examples to us when they're answering certain things. And they say, you know, they'll say, where is it here? the mind, body, spirit complex, they'll say, okay, meaning soul, with the vibratory sound complex, Donald Trump, just to give an example, okay? So everyone has a name here on earth, and just so you know, a name means a lot as well. It holds a certain vibration, okay? Like for me, for example, Ta-Ra, like the Ra for me is very intense because I feel very connected to this Ra energy. This Ra, that goes back to Egypt times, that goes back to Atlantis, Lemuria times. A lot of us do, and there's a reason for that. I feel like this is a council, you could say, a confederation that we're sort of all a part of, these light workers and starseeds. And so name holds a lot. And for me, it was a very strange way that I got my name, and mine has an H at the end. It's like a very clear Ra. It's not Terra, it's like Ta-Ra. Like it's a specific vibration, and everyone has that. So just so you know, they refer to names as that, vibratory sound complexes. Then they talk about the Orion group. Interesting. So I think this is relevant because we're dealing with these Orion group beings right now, literally. And it's important to understand the reason why these beings are the way they are and the things that they're doing and why they're so stuck, okay? Why they're so cut off from source. So they say that, first of all, the Orion group, that there's very few of them in the third density. Large number of them are in fourth and fifth density, but there are very few above that. So there are very few Orion beings who have gone above that and actually evolved past fifth density. Remember, there's a lot more densities. It goes higher, I think, to 12th. And there's a reason why they're sort of still stuck. They're stuck, and they explain this. They say this is because their social memory complexes, like their souls, basically, or their spirit, you could say. This is because their social memory complexes are experiencing constant disintegration due to being more service to self. Now they say service to others results in service to self, thus preserving and further harmonizing the distortions of those entities seeking intelligent infinity. So what they're saying here is that when you are service to others, you are automatically in service to self. And that is the perfect harmony, okay? That is the perfect combination in order to, and the fastest way to ascend and understand how things really work and get in touch with that. They call it intelligent infinity, okay? It's intelligent infinity. It's like get the closest you can get to that source energy, basically. They say those seeking intelligent infinity through use of service to self creates the same amount of power, but they have constant difficulty because of the concept of separation, which is implicit in the manifestations of service to self, which involve power over others. This is important because, guys, this is the cabal that they're saying. I'm going to repeat that one more time. Okay? Those seeking intelligent infinity through use of service to self. So those who wanting to ascend, right? They also are they have that same access or the same thirst for that quantum knowledge, that higher knowledge, but through use of service to self, it creates the same amount of power. So these people can get power for sure. But they have a constant difficulty because of the concept of separation, which is implicit in the manifestations of service to self, which involve power over others. Because of what they do, so in order for them to be where they want to be, it requires them to have power over others, and this is the issue. This is why they get stuck. Basically what they say is that their purpose is to conquest. Their purpose is conquest, pure conquest. The Confederation, for example, they wait for the calling, right? They live their lives, they work on their evolving, expanding of their consciousness, things like that. And when there's a calling for assistance, where they can provide assistance, they go. The Orion group, on the other hand, is not about that. They are about conquest. They go out looking for where they can colonize, where they can take over, basically, and control. They say the Orion group passes on information concerning the law of one with the orientation of service to self. So they can still use, these are the false light workers. You got to be careful, guys, because they know the same information. They understand this. But they have a different intention with it, to use it. So yes, while they may use a lot of the information from this, their purpose, intention, and orientation, as they say, is service to self. They say that the technology provided by this Orion group is in the form of various means of control or manipulation of others to serve the self. This is what they say. The origin, they say this, the origin of the 10 Commandments, they specifically refer to this. They say, follows the law of negative entities impressing information upon positively oriented mind, body, spirit complexes. Basically what this is conquest and then enslavement. This is what they do. This is what they've been doing to us. So the 10 Commandments that were created, basically, that was the origin of it, was created by these negative entities to use information upon these positive people, these positively oriented people, and enslave them that way. It's manipulation, right? That's what that is. So, just interesting, the Confederation, right? The Confederation consists of about 632 million mind, body, spirit complexes. This is interesting. That's a lot. It's exciting. That's a lot. There's a lot of good out there. So that's encouragement, you guys. And that's just the Confederation. I mean, that's not including all the other ones out there too. They said that when a call is put out, the being / entity that is putting forth the calling must first lay out the request before the Council of Saturn. I thought this was really interesting. So like Earth, right? Earth put out a calling, gosh, I don't know exactly, the year that it was, but it was probably back in like the 20s or so, when the first initial souls, higher dimensional souls started coming in and incarnating. But let's say roughly there, okay? That's when this call was put out, okay? This call was put out. So the being or entity that's putting forth the calling, by the way, and in this case it's literally Gaia, which is the soul that's occupying literally the body of Earth itself. So Gaia had to go to the council, had to communicate with the council of Saturn, another council, and they are the ones who can who can approve or deny whether the quarantine, because they're the ones in charge of the quarantine over the planets. And if it's approved, if the request is approved, then the quarantine is lifted by them, and so all these higher dimensional souls can come in then. And so that's what happened in this case. So I'm going to end the video with that information, because that's enough for today. We're already at 45 minutes. But I did want to do something cool today, because I just got this tarot deck, you guys, which I'm very excited about. I've never done tarot on camera in that sense, and I haven't been practicing very long at all, to be very honest with you. But I was shocked when practicing with this deck. It's just, I've been getting such great energy from it. I am in Bolivia, so it's in Spanish, but I have no issues translating for you. This is what the deck is. It's just like hieroglyphs. And because of what I talked about today, I think it's awesome and cool, and I felt very pulled to do this, to just pull a card. Just to pull a card and ask for a general message from Spirit about the information that I talked about today, about the current place that we're in on Earth, in relation to this, where humanity's headed, I guess. I don't want to be too specific when it comes to this, okay? But I just want to ask for a general message from Spirit, you know, and tell us what should we know? What information should we know? It's such a cool deck. I love these hieroglyphs. I mean, look at them. They're really cool. Really, really cool. Gotta give them a good shuffle, guys. Get my energy in them real good. I actually used them earlier today and got an amazing 7-card reading for something kind of more personal, and wow, I mean, it was on point. So I feel the energy of Ra, the energy of that in these cards, totally. And hey, why not ask Ra? Let's ask Ra to talk to us, right? Let's get information from the source. Let's get a message from Ra. So let's say, Ra, please connect through these cards. Please give us a message, some kind of confirmation. Any information that you want to share with us regarding what I shared today, or whatever it is that you want. Sometimes I like to make the card just kind of pop out, fly out, or sometimes I cut the deck. So it just really depends on, I'm gonna go with how I feel. Okay guys, so just give me a second here. Got it. You just have to go, guys. Don't think too much about this stuff if you're doing tarot. It's not about thinking, it's just about feeling and going. I don't know if you guys can see that, I'm sorry. Look at the image more than the bottom because it's in Spanish anyways. But look at that image, guys. And there's a lion there. This is persuasion. This is what it says on the card, persuasion. I think that's kind of relevant considering what I'm talking about and the message that I'm trying to spread. Persuasion. Lionsgate portal, guys. This is what I'm feeling right now. Look at that. She's getting her hand in his mouth, like she's almost receiving from the lion. We're receiving these energies, these raw energies, guys. We're receiving these raw energies. That's what it's saying. This is the time. So I want you to take that as you take it. I don't want to like be too specific, but I mean, that's pretty cool. Okay, I think that's a pretty cool sync. So yeah, that's what I wanted to do, guys. End this video now with that amazing message and amazing energy for you guys. I will have a part 2 coming out in a few days with more cool information about raw material law of one. All right, guys, so take care, be good. Subscribe, like this, please. Share this, please. My links are down below. I am an activist on Facebook, on Instagram, of many things, you know, related to the liberation of humanity and all about humanity going forward. So please, you know, I do have a great group on Facebook called Truth Seekers and Spreaders 5D Earth Knowledge. It's growing fast. It's an amazing group. There's no censoring or anything like that. It's all about spreading the truth. So definitely go ahead and join that group if you'd like. And like my pages, Tara Stars Gumucio or Warriors of the Light. I have those pages. And on Instagram, tara.stars with a Z, 1111. Okay, guys, take care. Sending a lot of love and light. Bye.